Here we go. We got another set of roster reviews coming at yous. First thing we'll do, and we'll say this for every review, is we're going to go through your team. We'll take a look at like roughly where you rank just based on keep trade cut value. It is not actually a great tool for us. It's just kind of ranking the league. Like this one, for example, looks like it may have just come out of a startup. Everyone is really, really close to each other. Everyone's probably a contender here. And then we'll go position by position. And we'll talk about your outlook for contending this year, next year, and some possible moves you can make. Alrighty, this first one is for Coreygermann. Coreygermann. Let me just mark the timestamp for everyone. And we'll take your team. And we'll get started on it. Here we go. Like we said, middle of the pack. Let's talk the scoring. 12 teams, Superflex, start 10, half point per reception, and a full point tight end premium. So let's go through your team. Superflex, you got Baker Mayfield, Penix, and Russ to fill in some spots. You got Flacco, who might fill in some spots. Not bad. Not bad. It's definitely good enough to contend. Like Penix is an efficient use of value for the production you should get, and Baker Mayfield is extremely efficient. Like we're listed as QB 16 in rankings, which means you probably, if you're coming out of a startup, probably got him like late fourth round, and he's going to produce probably top 10 numbers. So this is probably like a really strong 2 or a 3, just because there's not a lot of value flexibility here, but you'll have good production. Running backs, R.J. Harvey, Chuba Hubbard, Aaron Jones, Dylan Sampson. Sampson might get some run this year, depending on what happens with Judkins. Trevor Etienne, Keaton Mitchell. Like these are just dart throw guys at the end. This, though, probably feels like a 2 as well. Like R.J. Harvey, we hope he has a massive breakout, like other pass-catching running backs we've seen with Sean Payton. And Chuba Hubbard's like just a solid guy for the next 1 to 2 years, maybe. Maybe he becomes what people have thought of like David Montgomery, like a little undervalued but fine, or a little undervalued but good. I don't know. And then Aaron Jones, probably in a 50-50 split this year with is it Mason Jordan they brought in? Mason something they brought in Minnesota. It's not super important. He's probably in the last 1 to 2 years of his career, and he should be all right for you this year. Receivers, Jefferson, London, Brown, Terry, Trey Harris, Juwan Jennings, Jalen Royals, Jalen Lane. You love the Jalens. Tyquan Thornton, who I guess is on the Chiefs now. So this is probably a 4. Like Jefferson, London, Brown is a really strong 3. Maybe like a really weak 4 or a strong 3 on the rating. Like strong 3 receivers and probably a strong 3 on the rating. Trey Harris could become something in the Greg Roman offense. Like he could be their deep threat, but I'm not really looking to bank on it. I wouldn't feel confident about it going into the year. A rookie second round receiver, even a great second round receiver last year, like Lad McConkey, didn't really come on until late in the season. So I wouldn't really be expecting Trey Harris to fill a big role for this team in his first year, even if he's great. And then tight ends, George Kittle, Brenton Strange, Oronde Gadsden, Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz might end up doing some starting in one of your flex spots with the extreme tight end premium. So this is probably like a 3 or a 4 here, and Kittle doing most of the heavy lifting for you. You have most of your picks next year, like all the ones we care about, a first and a second. So this, I mean, your team's contending probably this year, depending on how Penix looks, probably next year, especially as you're going to add in more players. But I would expect most of these teams to be contending. So if you get halfway through the season and it's time to start selling stuff off, nothing's really jumping out. Like Aaron Jones, a clear one. Russ is probably benched by that time. I think that's realistic. So I'm just trying to look forward and give you some ideas. And then, man, where could you make some moves to really put this over? hard to down tier from either of these quarterbacks. You could always down tier from Jefferson if you move to like BTJ and got a value up tier somewhere else, like jumped from Hubbard to, you probably can't get all the way up to Achane. Could you do like Jefferson and something else for, I mean, Jefferson and Hubbard for BTJ and like Bucky Irving, get a better running back, an up tier, or, and a possible value rising wide receiver. That's something you could do. Or Jefferson and McLaurin. I don't know that anyone's buying Terry McLaurin now that he has his contract dispute. I would have been selling him anyway. And if he gets a contract, I probably would also consider it for the same reason he's not really getting a contract. Like, he's not amazing. He had a good year, but not a great year. Oh, I mean, he did have a very, he had a great. It wasn't different than his other years. He just caught a couple more touchdowns. If you really want to just push in for this year, you've got Terry. I would see if you could down tier from Terry to like Adams or Evans. Those are pretty obvious ones. Or add a little something to Terry McLaurin. Maybe it's a second or like a future third or something from 27 and go up to DK Metcalf. Like DK Metcalf has his position locked in. I mean, this guy might do that. His position locked in. He's 27, turning 28 this year during the season. That seems like it's not a big production dip. You're not like gaining or losing that many points in your starting lineup each week. You've got a couple years, and realistically, like, I wouldn't be surprised if DK Metcalf had a better year than Terry McLaurin. If anyone will pay you on Trey Harris, like Terry McLaurin and Trey Harris, what could you get? I would look for things like that. Let's count out 10 and then double back on any sort of trade. So we got Mayfield, Penix 2, Kittle 3, Harvey Hubbard 4, 5, and then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if I could find a way to take a second Terry McLaurin, Trey Harris, and Juwan Jennings and come away with like Evans and it's going to be hard with this guy. Evans and Hunter or Adams, Devontae Adams, what does he have? I don't know that you could get up to Adams. And I mean, you probably, if you moved a first, what did I say? A first, Terry, Trey Harris, and came away with Adams and JSN. It's possible. I would start the conversation to see if you could get those two and just fill out your starting 10 with really rock solid guys. That's some of the moves I would look to make. Otherwise, you're going with it. You could also look to grab, like, you already have Aaron Jones as a good veteran, efficient piece. Kamara is usually pretty cheap. Just run Kamara in the flex. This guy's got two guys here. Could you see what he would want for Kamara and run a cheap flex option? Although it looks like you could probably you had who did I say? Brenton Strange or Dalton Schultz could probably fill your flex for you, and you'd have a solid 10. Those are my thoughts. Thank you very much for submitting. I am just filling out the timestamp for the next guy. Next team. Ben Bryan, 1, 2, 3. Looks like the team name may be changed. Nope, Ben Bryan 1, 2, 3 in Mound Dynasty. Ben Bryan 1, 2, 3 designated drinkers. The team name was changed. Okay, Ben. Let's go through. You're in 12-team Superflex, start 9, PPR with a half-point tight end premium. Quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, Sam Howell, Aiden O'Connell. It's probably like a 2 just on value, but going to get good production. So I would feel all right about it. Running backs, Bijan Gibbs, Brian Robinson, Tracy. you got a 5 at running backs. I mean, you're running out the top 2 each week. And with a 12 by 9, that's a little teeny bit more shallow than I would. So you need like the top options. You're looking good there. Wide receivers, JSN, DK Metcalf, Olave, Tyreek Hill, Demario Douglas. I think this is one of the, compared to your running backs, this is a weakness. This is probably like a 2. And then tight ends, Jake Ferguson is like the Mendoza line of tight end. If you're familiar with the Mendoza line in baseball, just the batting average of like an average or replacement level player. Jake Ferguson is the tight end. He's nothing special. It's probably like a 2. He can fill the role for you. You have a slight tight end premium. Dallas should be throwing a little bit this year, and he'll have a spot in a pass-heavy offense. So what can we do with this team? You're contending this year. I mean, I think we see a bounce back from Trevor, a bounce back from Dak. This QB 22 rank is just because he's 32. I mean, any year he's been a starter, he's been top 12, and like half the time he's been top 6. They have good pass catching options. We're hoping that the head coach there is fine, Schottenheimer. But where can we find some stuff? The first thing that jumps out to me is like, I don't love having 2 stud running backs. If I can move one of these guys and insulate the value that they have in a wide receiver, I probably would. Like, I wouldn't hate. I mean, let me just pull up a startup like here. Bijan went 10th. Could you get CeeDee Lamb? I'd be fine with that. And then swing in something else like Metcalf for, go from Lamb, JSN, Metcalf, or go from JSN, Metcalf, Olave, and Bijan to who has Lamb in here. Let's take a look. Lamb, Henry, and move like Olave. So then you would have, this guy would have 2 stud guys. He might want a young stud running back. So see if you can do a 2-for-2 swap of something. There is an option I would look at. Like Gibbs and Bijan are great right now, but this stuff, these top options, is pretty volatile. Like Brees could jump back up into the top options. Achane could jump into the top options. Genty or Hampton could all move up into the top, and then the total value, even if you're still like a top 2, top 3 running back, the value all just comes down because value is just based on what you're doing compared to other players. And if 2 to 3 rookies move up into there, you could see a value dip on these guys that CeeDee Lamb wouldn't really be hit by. That's something I would look at. Counting out 9 starters, we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 every week, 6, 7, 8. Like Tyreek Hill as your last starter, Brian Robinson as your last flex starter, Tyrone Tracy as your last flex starter. That's fine. The moves that we're looking at are really just insulating your team for the future. And then you're at the point where you could probably take seconds and thirds and come away with an older veteran receiver. Or you could see what kind of picks you need to add to DK Metcalf to get to AJ Brown, who is just like the better DK Metcalf, the better version of like entirely. Not as a player, but in my mind as dynasty assets. Like DK Metcalf is 27.5. AJ Brown is 28 something. They're both kind of like older guys that should stay on your roster until the end of their career because they're just going to outproduce their value. Like DK Metcalf is like that. AJ Brown is like that, but a better player and a little bit older. So if you could add a little bit to go up to him, that's something I would look at. And then maybe in a sequence of trades, I'd try to move Olave out for a pick or something and then use that pick to get another player in. I'm just worried about having 2 riskier options here. Like if Tyreek Hill is at the end of his career and Olave has a problem, which are both somewhat likely this year. Like, it's more likely that these two are a problem than DK Metcalf. I just don't want two of those guys that you need to be relying on if you can move on to someone else. So, like, up tier from Olave with a second to a different receiver. I mean, could you get up to T. Higgins like that? That's what I would look at. Mark that one done. Let's do some of the logistics. Next review is for domlovesduval. Oh, Dom, something's going on with your league. Maybe resubmit it, or maybe you submitted the wrong one for this review. Or you're still in the middle of a draft. Like, that could be possible. You could be still in the middle of a startup draft. I'm going to mark this one complete, so it's out of the queue. Come back to me, resubmit it. Or maybe there was an issue with this one. It's like resubmit when you finish your startup, or if there was just an issue, like you submitted the wrong league, you'll know that I saw it and why it's marked as done. 1630 goes to Dookie. So we'll copy this over for the timestamps. Dookie, Jacob Zander, 12-team Superflex, start 10, half PPR with a tight end premium. We do have a wider range between the teams. Like, top option is much better than the bottom option. You're near the top. Let's look position by position. You got Drake May, Trevor Lawrence, Sam Darnold, and Milroe at quarterback. So you've got three guys who should be starters this year and next year. Like, I mean, it's possible that the Seahawks both move on from Darnold and don't move to Milroe. It's totally plausible. But you got three options here. So this feels like a solid three. You've got a lot of flexibility to make moves with Drake May and just lock in production. We'll come back to it. Running backs, Henry, Harvey, Pacheco, Wright, and some dart throws like Jaden Blue and Woody Marks, some later round picks who may have roles on their offenses. This still feels like a strong two at best. We're coming to the end of Henry's career. We'll have to wait for Harvey to break out. We're hoping Pacheco bounces back. A lot of question marks and not a lot of future. But plenty of possibility for breakout with Harvey. Wide receivers, Lamb, London, JSN, Wilson, Jalen McMillan, Whittington, and some dart throw options. This feels like a 4, like strong. Strong top 4, and then Jalen McMillan might get some run this year. Tight ends, Evan Ingram, Brenton Strange. It'll probably work and will hold you for the year, but not something you're looking for. Like, it's not going to be a strength. It's like a 2. Evan Ingram might have another big year. He's had a few big years in his career. Like, maybe Sean Payton makes a lot out of him. I don't know. I don't know that he does, though. So let's take a look, because this team's probably competing. Like, even if Drake May just does what he did last year, Trevor Lawrence should be fine. This is enough to compete. Derrick Henry should be pretty good, and Pacheco and Harvey filling in those two spots with the chance of a breakout. Like, you could probably fill out running backs each week for the year, and then you've got 4 great receivers and enough at a tight end. So, like, we'll just count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pacheco, McMillan as your last option. That's not a horrible final spot in a 12 by 10. You've got extra thirds, or an extra third next year. So yeah, you're contending this year. Like, what would I do with this team? I would down tier from Drake May. If you could move from Drake May to Baker Mayfield to Kyler, let's take a look. Like, we could probably throw Jalen McMillan in on the deal, or Pacheco in on the deal. If we did, like, I would start and see what the guy says about May and Pacheco for Kyler and Achane and see what you need to add. See what the guy says. See if there's an option. There's plenty of people who just like somehow Kyler is QB 15 and Drake May in this is keep trade cut rankings. So somehow in the consensus, like Kyler, who is already plays well, is so much less valuable than Drake May, who's just because he's young. Like I'm just not that high on Drake May. If you could move down and get locked in production for a contending team and then up tier somewhere else, that's what I would be looking to do. If you can find someone who will pay on Jalen McMillan, he's just hard to move right now. He's like wide receiver 54, and he's probably going to get some run at the start of the year. Godwin's injured. Emeka Egbuka is like a highly thought of rookie, but he's a rookie. It'll take a little bit of time. I would not be surprised if McMillan is out there with Evans to start the year if Godwin is missing. Let's talk other options. If you can't down tier from Drake May, I would probably, this is like a prime team to just go get Adams or Evans. You have like a second and 2/3. Can you get Evans? It's possible. I don't know how this guy feels about his team. He's got Mayfield. You could probably swing a deal where you're going down from Drake May to Mayfield, who should score more points, and get Mike Evans out of the deal and and throw a couple picks and get like probably I don't know that you could get up to Malik Neighbors. You've got Lamb, like London to Neighbors and Mayfield to McCarthy, May to Mayfield, and maybe find a way to get Evans in on there. Or get DeAndre Swift from this guy. You could probably send this guy seconds and thirds and try to find if you can get Swift, Evans, just a tenth option and a rotation piece to put you over the edge to the championship, get you across the finish line. That's stuff I would look at on this one, Jacob Zander. 22. We're right back at you again here. So just like we did with the last one, we'll go through it. You look like it might be a borderline contender just on this value, so we'll see if we need to move it around. Here we go. Caleb Williams, Kyler Murray, Cam Ward. It feels like a 3 or 4, kind of on the borderline just because you have a bunch of flexibility. And Cam Ward should be a value riser as we get into August and more stories about him coming out. More stories get written about him saying how he shows up at 3 a.m. and works until 3 a.m. or something like that. Running backs, though, just Charbonnet, Smith, Damian Martinez, Isaiah Davis, LaQuint Allen, Maffa. It's like dart throws and kind of needing an injury. Wide receivers, Odunze, Egbuka, Jamison Williams, Jalen Waddle, Pickens, Williams, Ridley. You could piece together a starting lineup out of these receivers. Tight ends, Trey McBride. And then you have 2 firsts next year and 2 seconds. And 2 firsts in 27. This is an interesting one because I think you could buy enough pieces to get into the playoffs. Like, I don't know that you need to hold on to these firsts. What receiver could you get with? You could probably get up to London with Williams a first and Kyle Williams and just sell Jamison Williams on his hype right now and get a guy who's actually good. That's something I would consider. Like, this could be big value risers from Odunze, Egbuka. Waddle and Pickens should both bounce back from this 27 and 30 value and outperform that. And then Calvin Ridley, if he's still on your team, I'd say like go for the playoffs. Take Cam Ward in late August and buy a running back. I don't know if you'll be able to get up to a rookie, and Achan's value has been going up, but see what like Bucky Irving or Chase Brown would be good options for just a pivot. This guy's got Saquon, Bucky, Kyron, and Aaron Jones, Hurts and Anthony Richardson. Like if you moved Cam Ward, this guy could totally be open to that. Cam Ward for Bucky and probably a little bit more. Let's see what he thinks of that. Did this guy have Bo Nix? Possibly. Let's keep looking at your team. Like Charbonnet probably can start some for you and hold a decent role. So if we moved Ward and got you Bucky Irving, Jonathan Taylor, and plus like Jonathan Taylor plus Bucky Irving plus, and you want to wait until late August. So like for this team, oops, didn't mean to reload that. I'm looking to see a jump, like a value jump similar to this one. So the numbers aren't going to be the same, but just as people get excitement about a top draft pick coming into the league, like look at this. Caleb Williams didn't play. This is August 11th. It's at 75.45. Still has not played. August 25th, it's up 1,000 points. So that happened with Caleb Williams. That I bet you'll see something similar with Trevor Lawrence. We want the all-time. Maybe hard to tell on your screen. Here's like April 2021 as he got drafted. Some down about the summer, but then right in here, 73, like it's going up just in August on nothing. Like training camp hype videos, the value will rise for the number 1 overall pick. So Trevor Lawrence didn't have great options his rookie year. People didn't like Urban Meyer and news out of camp then. So like we can look back and say, well, that's why we don't see as much of a value rise as Caleb. But with Cam Ward right now, it's all just how hard he works, how he's going to succeed. So if you hold him until August 29th and sell, late August, you could probably get a pretty good running back and then use, if you had Charbonnet, moved Ward and got Bucky Irving and a draft pick, and then used that draft pick with some other ones and got Alvin Kamara on this team, like then you would have 2 solid quarterbacks. You don't totally need a third to sneak into the playoffs. Like this is a team that should make the playoffs. And then once you're in the playoffs, you only need 2 quarterbacks. So you could survive starting other stuff in the super flex spot. Pick up some picks from Ward, get a running back, use those picks to add another running back, and then up tier. I would be fine selling a first with Jameson Williams to up tier. Like he's just getting so much hype, and his value right now, this might be a couple days out of date, but wide receiver 22, like you've had a bunch of team reviews. I've probably said this to you. This is just higher than guys that have always been better than Jameson Williams. Guys that are younger than Jameson Williams and have always been better. Like Jameson Williams has never had a better year than at Jordan Addison's worst year. And Jordan Addison's younger. So I would be looking to just pair this and up tier. Or if you can sell Williams and a first and get all the way up. So that all the way up would be like past Drake London. I don't think you could get Puka or Amon-Ra. Those are my targets. You got some moves to make this team a better playoff contender, and I don't mind pulling from your future firsts because you're not really going to be losing anyone that you need to replace. You're just looking for value rising options and to maximize the value that you've already acquired. You could also just down tier from Trey McBride and pull more value and put that into starting lineup. We're calling it done. I'm sorry, Smith Jaxon is the next one up. Let me set up your timestamp for you. We'll go with 35. Okay, I'm sorry, Smith Jaxon, 12-team Superflex, start 9, PPR. We have this column here. It's keep trade cut value. It's a little bit out of date by about a week and a half. Not that much stuff happens in the off season to really move it. And the bottom team behind my head is at 66,000. The top is at 107. Out of a startup, the best team is probably like 10,000 ahead of the bottom team. And that'll just be some of the bottom teams will have veteran options. So that's for scale. This here with you at the top, like you're probably a playoff contender, like to make the playoffs. So we're going to go position by position and we'll talk about moves you can make, the outlook for this team this year, next year, and so on. Here we go. Quarterbacks, Lamar, Dak. This is like a great pairing. I'm going to call it a 4 out of 5 just because Dak is hard to move. You don't have a ton of flexibility, but in terms of production, this is really high up there. Running backs, Caleb Johnson, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry. So 2 veteran options, Jacobs and Henry, and then a rookie to replace them. There's camp buzz about Tank Bigsby right now, so this 40 may be going up. And I'd probably sell it if you could sell that hype. So we'll come back and look at moves though. That room, probably a 4. So like 4 at quarterback, 4 at running back, wide receivers, London, JSN, Tet, Ayuk, Jennings, Besh, Diggs, Roman Wilson. This is like a 2 or a 3. Probably a strong 2 with London and JSN and Tet, so maybe a 3. Maybe a 3 out of 5. Tight ends, Tyler Warren, Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce. I really like this team. The whole team in general. I think it's just got a great mix of future options ready to come in and replace these veteran options in a year or two. Especially with someone like Tyler Warren, who like rookie tight ends just rarely produce. It's Bowers, Laporta, no one else. Kyle Pitts a little. Kyle Pitts, I think, was like tight end 8, 9, or 10 his rookie year, and then got worse. So I'm not betting that Tyler Warren is good to go this year, but you have Andrews and Kelce who can fill that spot for you. No tight end premium, so I wouldn't really want to put one in the flex, but it's hard to move either one of these guys. Looking at a starting lineup, you're going Lamar, Dak, Andrews or Kelce as three options in your start 10, and then 4, 5, 6, maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then kind of a weak 9. So Ayuk or Jennings or Jack Besh or Stephon Diggs as your 9th option does feel weak. So can we find spots to up tier? And the obvious one to me looks like if I have this team, I don't want to afford Tyler Warren. Like I don't want to pay to hope that he develops. You've got Andrews for probably two plus more years. He's only going to be 30 this year. Travis Kelce you have for another year, and you have a first to try to find another tight end next year. Or you could down tier from Warren. Could you down tier to Kittle? You could probably get more, something on top of Kittle to move up to Warren from this guy. So I would look at what you could get on top for Kittle, what you could get on top for Hawkinson. This guy's got Loveland and Hawkinson. I don't know what this guy would feel about having two top rookie tight end options. But I would be shopping because your team is at the top. Like, I'd rather win the championship and then figure out tight end next year and just ride with Andrews and Kelce this year. Because I don't know that I don't feel confident that Tyler Warren is going to be helping you a ton this year. Like, it's possible he's a league winner. Brock Bowers would have been, but it just doesn't actually happen that often based on the needs of the tight end position in the NFL. That's where I would look, but I would be totally fine if you just held, and then you're stuck with Jennings or Ayuk, who are both hurt for San Francisco, or Jack Besh or Diggs as your option each week. You don't have a ton of picks left to move to go get a veteran option, and I don't really want you to down tier from London, JSN, or Tet. I don't really even want you to down tier from Lamar. I guess if I had this team, I would consider down tiering from Lamar. Like, see if you could move from Lamar to Hurts and improve this last spot. If the guy wants Jack Besh, you're just taking as big of an up tier as you can there. Otherwise, just ride with it. It's really well put together. There's just not a ton of, like, if you just want a video where I'm telling you did a great job, that can also be what this is. This team should be in the playoffs, and barring an awful week, should do some damage in the playoffs. That one is complete. Erikbatt, you are up next. Just typing out when the timestamp. All right, Erikbatt, this is yours. Here we go. Where are you? So 12 teams, Superflex, start 10, PPR. Just looking at the value, keep trade cut value column, I would not be surprised if this was coming out of a startup. That's how close everything is. So I'm going to mostly say we're going to ignore this column. 81 to 76, that's nothing. That's the difference between highly thought of rookies and veteran producers just having low value. So we'll mostly ignore it. We'll talk about the rankings for each player as we go through, though, about where I think you have like underranked, overranked guys, and so on. So let's go position by position. Burrow and Herbert, it's probably a really strong 4. So talking about guys that are probably a teeny bit overranked, like I would still keep Burrow behind Jalen Hurts. He had a great year last year. Touchdowns just don't repeat nearly as predictably as rushing. Running generally repeats. So Hurts is going to be fine. Joe Burrow had an odd year last year, and enough stuff has changed for the Bengals that I would not expect them to need to throw as much as they did to stay in games. So that might be an option to move, but you probably like him. Running backs, Taylor, Judkins, Neal, Jordan James, Khalil Mullings. We may need to fill a hole here early in the year. So this is probably going to be like a 2. Receivers, Amon-Ra, Odunze, Godwin, Sutton, Harris, Myers, and a couple dart throw options. Feels a little weak, like maybe a 3 at best. Like I do think you have enough starters: Sutton, Myers, Odunze, Amon-Ra, and then tight ends Kittle and Kelsey. There's no tight end premium in this league, but you've got two starters, and this Kelsey was probably super cheap for you. Let's count out 10 and get a gauge of how we feel. It's like Burrow and Herbert each week. Kittle is 3. 4. We're going to need something. But you'll have so like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We need more. You're going to be starting Trey Harris. Like I would not go into the year excited to start Trey Harris. Like we're missing some spots coming out of this startup. How do we get those spots filled? The obvious one for me is move on from Joe Burrow, and I would look to down tier. Like you could down tier deep. Like Joe Burrow may have been, if I'm guessing your startup, like first round, second round, maybe Taylor in the 3rd, or a Herbert in the 3rd, and then Taylor, something like that, or some trades or things. If I had this team to contend this year, I would do a deep down tier from Burrow. and just shoot for Baker, a couple years older, but also throws a ton of touchdowns. And like if we're moving from QB4 to QB16, you can usually get like a pretty good piece thrown in. This guy riding with Barkley and McCaffrey, I don't really want to buy either one of those. I mean, I'd look for Ibuka. I would look to see what this guy is open to doing. We're just giving you like targets and people to talk to. Like, would this guy move Dak? This is more of the team setup that I would be looking for. Of if you, I mean, I guess I wouldn't throw that out. I like this team setup, this quarterback setup much more than yours, where you have an elite option and a much older option. You've got Herbert, who's plenty good. I would try to see if this guy would be willing to move up from Dak to Burrow. Because you're probably looking like you would get, you could finagle a deal where you're going Dak and Drake for Joe Burrow and possibly something very, very small. And that's just going to give you a much better starting 10. Like, yeah, there's no doubt Dak is not as good of a dynasty option. But for your team and winning a championship and making the playoffs, like, everyone in this league is contending. But you're not really contending if you're relying on Godwin, Trey Harris. Like, Jacoby Myers is a good starter. Cortland Sutton is a good starter. We want one more option while we figure out what goes on with Godwin. Is Trey Harris the guy? And I don't know that you're going to take that much of a production hit going from Burrow to Dak or Baker or Kyler or Purdy. Those are all good targets for you to get this team to playoff ready. Otherwise, it's pretty likely, like, if Judkins is missing, if Godwin is missing, if Trey Harris doesn't develop right away, if Tesla takes a while. Like, Pat Bryant's a nice dart throw, but you need a starter. We'll call that one done. That is what I would do with that team. All right, Wyatt. Not much in this video for you. I'm just going to leave this one open. Let's find Better Call Hall, AbsurdAcorn. Okay, Better Call Hall by AbsurdAcorn, and a 12-team Superflex Start 10 PPR with a half-point tight end premium. This is a pretty tight league. Either it was like an extreme startup where someone kind of went low-value options everywhere, or you're 1 or 2 years in. You're sitting up at the top. Let's talk through your team. Kyler and Baker, both really good producers, low value on them compared to their expected production. I'm going to call this like rock solid 3. If this was the quarterback room that I got, I would be really happy because they're just going to produce. I don't really need to. I don't really need them to be tradable. Sorry, I'm getting some trade options coming through at the same time. So I'll mute that for a second and knock out your review. Just solid options here. Tyler Shuck probably starting. And if he is starting and at any point you can get a first for him, like if you spent a rookie third and you can get if you could ever get a first for him, I'm just moving on. Or if you could down tier to someone else and get more on top, like a real more, I'm just moving on. Running backs, Achane, Montgomery, and Dobbins. Jalen Warren could probably fill in some bye weeks for you. Jerome Ford. Maybe Devin Neal has a nice role in New Orleans. You have a couple bye options. This feels like a 3 to me, though. Achane doing a bunch of heavy lifting, and then I don't know how much longer David Montgomery goes on. I would not be surprised if he's playing for 2 more years. I wouldn't be surprised if he only played 1 more year. I think he is cuttable after this year. which is nice to know for planning for you. Yeah, potential out after 2025. So basically this just means like he's on the team this year. We're pretty sure of that. And then there's a potential out immediately after. So you should consider that. Like David Montgomery's value will likely heavily change after this year or just be lower. There's no chance that it's up. So just for future thoughts for you, wide receivers, Chase, Rice, Ibuka, Williams, Golden, Judy, Coleman, Wicks. Not a bad room at all. It's probably a week 4. Like we may have a suspension with Rice. I like Ibuka as a prospect. I liked him before preseason hype. I just have always liked him as a prospect. Jameson Williams as a trade option. I like Golden as a prospect in Green Bay. Let's go to tight ends. Johnny Smith, Dalton Schultz. We got nothing here. Like we got Dalton Schultz to maybe get us a couple points each week to not totally tank our team. But this, it's not a strength of this team. But you've got value in other spots. You have enough of your future picks. Like you've moved some seconds. Let's take a look because this team's contending this year. It's probably like has enough value to contend next year. Maybe Montgomery's still on the Lions. Maybe we need to replace him with a first round pick. And maybe we have some issues at tight end. So what can we do to really get this across? Like tight end is a big glaring hole. Can you move Keon Coleman and come away with like Kelsey and a third or something? Like start with something like that, or Zach Ertz and plenty more. Those are guys that they can fill in for you this year. Kelsey, Ertz, Mark Andrews is really cheap, and I don't know how the guy is feeling about Mark Andrews with Isaiah Likely going to miss some time at the start of the year. I would look at that. I would look to move just Jameson Williams and get out on him. You're not really needing his breakout. I'm not a Jameson Williams breakout believer. So the example I give in a ton of these roster reviews on Keep Trade Cut, he's wide receiver 22. So someone in your league probably thinks of him as that high. That is community rankings putting him ahead of Jordan Addison, who is younger and has always been better than Jameson Williams. Every year of Jordan Addison's career has been better than Jameson Williams' best year. So if Jameson Williams can break out this year in an offense that probably takes a step back with Ben Johnson leaving, I would look to sell on that. The other thing that, I have a ton to say about Jameson Williams. So the other thing I would say is like, if Ben Johnson's such a great offensive mind, like we think he's a really great offensive coordinator, if he's really smart, he saw Jameson Williams and said, let's give him 58 receptions. That's not a lot. That's not a big part of the offense. He did a ton with those. He was really efficient with those yards, but he needs to hold that efficiency. There's probably less passing receptions overall in this offense, and Jameson Williams needs to get more catches and be as efficient with them to return this value. So if I could just sell it, I would. So if I could move Jameson Williams and come away with a tight end option, like if I pull up here on this video is some startup ADP. So looking at, where's Jameson Williams on this draft? It's probably 6th or 7th round. Terry McLaurin, Metcalf, Golden. Williams went 801. So that was actually a little bit late, but same as Jordan Addison. So could you, this guy, where he's not looking at startup ADP, I would probably just rather have Hawkinson, and you could probably get Hawkinson plus from some people with Jameson Williams, with how people think of him right now. So I would talk to the Hawkinson owner and see what he says. Like, you might get Hawkinson and more for Jameson Williams. And that's exactly what people mean when they say buy low, sell high. the hype on Jameson Williams is probably higher than his production. If I'm wrong about that, I'll say so, but I'm not a believer. You're kind of, for your team, like you need Rice to not really have a suspension issue, and then Ibuka to play pretty early, or Coleman have a breakout. Like you've got plenty of options that I wouldn't drastically blow up too much or make too many moves. Kind of just ride with the guys that you have, and if there's an awful level suspension with Rice, like that's just a down year. It's a bummer. Here we go. Diddys uprise. Diddy surprise? I don't know. In an 8-team Superflex, start 12. We'll go 50-50 for the timestamp. And let's talk through this team. 8-team Superflex, start 12. I'm not sure if that's kicker, defense, or anything, so I'm going to talk about it. I'll just talk about your players, where they're valued, where they're undervalued, and so on. Is this a 6-team playoff? I don't play in that many 8-team leagues, but okay, yeah, here we go. Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, that's great for you. There's maybe some IDPs. You haven't really done your rookie draft yet. You have a lot of future value and tons of players. Yeah, there's got to be some IDPs, or this is some sort of keeper setup. This one I'm not too sure how to help you out on. There's got to be some rules that I'm missing, and that's kind of the issue with, or not the issue, but the status with the site right now. It's like I just don't have all of the information to give you great advice. So what I'll do is I'll go through each position and look at like what I would do with those players. Although I think a lot of it's pretty clear. Like Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, they're QB1, QB2. I would agree with that. Anthony Richardson, this number has probably gone up from QB30 in the last week since I pulled keep trade cut value. I would sell Anthony Richardson if I could. His value is probably pretty high right now. I don't need to, especially if I'm in an 8-team. Yeah, I think even if I'm in an 8-team league and he could bounce back, I don't really need to wait and see. I've got Allen and Daniels. I'll just take what I can get right now, based on his preseason that he's having. Gibbs and Irving, like you're probably feeling really good about this too. 2 young, talented running backs. I don't know exactly what picks you have. Wide receivers, you've got Chase, Thomas Collins. That's a really good top 3 option. I don't know how many teams in this league are going to be much better. Looks like you've got a couple like dead teams with Shrek's Bing Bong. Shrek's Big Dong. Same thing as I said, just different. And Braxton C4 is probably, like, what does this team look like? Herbert, Williams, Stroud, Purdy. This team is probably not better than yours. Has more value, but having 4 quarterbacks, like Bijan and Brees, Ken Walker, is that much better than Gibbs and Irving? Probably not. Malik Lamb Harrison could be. I mean, he's the top option. So your team's probably making the playoffs. There's no clear guys that I think are overvalued or undervalued here. And I'm not sure what picks you have or how the start 12 works. So in the future, I'll map this out to show IDPs, but kickers, defenses, that's just not a top priority right now, while the site is a minimum viable product. That's why these reviews are free. Because I can't cover all of these situations yet. And I probably would just put something in place to say that I'm not going to. 54-35. Lick my tank. Let's do a team review for you. Have done your rookie picks. 12 teams, Superflex, start 9. Let's go through your stuff. You got Burrow, Purdy, Ward, Dart. So having 4 quarterbacks is probably what is putting your team up at the second highest in value and we'll come back to that. Burrow, I think, is a smidge overrated at 4, but really it's a smidge. I would take Hurts over him, and I just don't expect him to repeat what he did in 2024. So if I could get out at full price, probably plus, because someone is paying up for the best player in the deal, that's a move I like to make. You're not down tiering for trash. I would use Joe Burrow to sell trash in a down tier. Like Burrow and Ayuk, that might be a deal we look at. Maybe. We'll keep going and we'll come back to future deals. So quarterbacks, you have a ton of moves that we probably need to make for this team, but it's a really strong 4 out of 5 for a rating. Running backs, Hubbard and friends. Like we may be starting Travis Etienne and hoping for a bounce back. This is a 2 or a 1. Wide receivers, Drake London, JSN, Travis Hunter, Rice, Flowers, Burden, Ayuk. This is a start 9, right? Yeah. So a lot of options here. It's probably a strong 3 just on like value we can trade, but there's a lot of moves to make here. Tight ends, Tyler Warren, TJ Hawkinson, Dalton Kincaid. We got plenty of future picks. Picks from a guy saying the rebuild starts now. Like with this team, I probably would say let's not move all of these future picks, but let's start moving some of these. I don't know if you think your team is in a rebuild, but you're not. Like we just need to sell stuff. So on this video, I've talked about Cam Ward and I've pulled up other future or other number 101 overall draft picks. So if you've been watching the whole video, you can find it. Otherwise, scrub through. I think it was like, you can just jump through the chapters and see a team that has multiple quarterbacks in Cam Ward, and I'll go over the same idea. Like Cam Ward is getting a lot of preseason hype just based on he shows up and works hard. And I think that's going to move his value up in August. Like people will start to get excited about like, what if the number 1 overall pick is good? And he probably is. So if you see a value rise in August, when you've already got 3 quarterbacks, like Jackson Dart should also be a value riser later in the year when he's playing. So I would look to sell Ward. You'd be selling him for more than you paid for him, hopefully, and sell him just for a running back. Could you get to Bucky Irving plus for Cam Ward? That's what I would look to do because he's not going to start for you this year. And you won't need him to start for you next year because you'll have Burrow, Purdy, and Dart. So that's a move for this team to make. Otherwise, move to seconds and grab like Kamara, who the Saints can't really cut Kamara and save money. And running backs who catch the ball, like play longer and score a ton of points. So he's not a typical old running back, Alvin Kamara. He should play and be pretty good. And people are just generally down on him. So if you could get him, I would do that because you have enough value to contend. With this team, like I don't know that we can afford waiting for Tyler Warren. I would rather just take this value. I mean, you have plenty of picks in future years to replace TJ Hawkinson in a few years. It's not a problem that I would be looking to solve right now. I would probably just take Tyler Warren and Zay Flowers and come away with an amazing receiver. Like you could probably get pretty high up there. I mean, Zay Flowers and Tyler Warren for Puka is a real, like the value lines up. They might not want to do it. They might tell you you're dumb, but it's not a bad place to start. And then if you just had like Puka in your wide receivers, we don't need this depth of Flowers, the hopeful breakout for Burden. Like let's count out your starters. We only need to start 9. And we go 1, 2, Hawkinson 3, because rookie tight ends don't really do that much very often. So we're going 3, 4, 5, ETN, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like you don't even need to start Flowers, Burden, Ayuk. You could probably pair Tyler Warren and get someone to give you pretty good value on Ayuk for someone in this league. And then you're just taking that pick that you used on Tyler Warren and accomplishing something of like selling Ayuk for full value because he's so hard to move right now. And with this team, you want to be up tiering at receivers and then a pivot from Cam Ward to a running back, or a pivot from Warren to a running back and Cam Ward with Ayuk to get a better receiver. Those are the main goals I would try to accomplish. All of these draft picks will just keep going up in value, but I don't mind if you dip into them now to fill out your starting lineup. We'll call that one done because I think that's a good set of moves and a lot of work to get done. Jordan Love experience. Where are you? Moneyball. 7th out of 12. We got a Bears fan here. 12 teams, Superflex, start 9. So this value column, if you didn't watch the intro, we don't really care about it. It's just to somewhat rank and hopefully get the best and hopefully get the worst team. So 7th, don't worry about it. We'll talk about your pick. It looks like you may already think you're a rebuilder. Let's figure it out. Quarterbacks, Lamar, Love, Shuck. This is a really good 4. Like Lamar could easily be QB1. Jordan Love, his ceiling, QB7, QB8. That's a high ceiling. Like he could produce. They added a receiver, and that team needed a receiver. And I think the Packers traditionally can throw, and people thought that Dubs was good, or Watson was good, or Dontavian Wicks was good, and they're all kind of bad. Jaden Reed is a fine option, but Jaden Reed never really runs in 2 wide receiver sets. So like that team clearly needed a receiver. They got one. I'm expecting that to really help Jordan Love in 2025 compared to 2024. So I'm high on him. I'm probably like not super high. I'd probably have him 10, 11, 12, but all kind of a blob. So I like what you have in your quarterbacks. Running backs, Judkins, Williams, Swift, Ray Davis. It's not an amazing group. I'd probably call it like a weak 3, a 2, a 3. But this is fine to contend. Like you can get into the playoffs with this. With Kyron and Swift starting while Judkins is suspended, Ray Davis might have a larger role this year. He's an efficient runner. So I can see why they're not excited to pay James Cook. Like Ray Davis can do things, and they can bring in another running back to pair with Ray Davis, and that could be a real NFL offense. So this isn't that bad, and you can survive the Quinshon Judkins suspension. Receivers: Collins, AJ Brown, Sutton, Hill, and that's where we have kind of a big value hole. And then tight ends, Andrew Njoku, no tight end premium. So we're actually doing all right. You have 1, 2, 3, 27 first round picks. I don't know why. This team is ready to go. Like if we count, we could use these picks to for sure have this team ready to go. We only need to start 9 guys. So if we count if we count Lamar, Jordan Love, that's 2. Andrews or Njoku is 3 in your lineup. Kyron Swift is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's not a bad 9. And you have multiple 27 firsts. I'm not sure when you bought these. If it was very recent, I would say like can we pair Hill with a first and we already have Nico Collins. Could you come away with JSN? Could you come away with Lad McConkey? Those guys are worth like around 2 firsts. A first is worth a first, and Tyreek Hill is close. So I would see if that's open, if that's an option for you. That'll value insulate your team. Like we don't have to worry about Tyreek Hill bouncing back, because even if he bounces back, like he's probably done pretty soon with his career. I haven't checked out what his contract looks like. But let's see when he's probably done with the Dolphins. Potential out 2026. So 2024, he'll play 2025. I mean, they haven't cut him. And then he's probably gone. Unless he has a massive year and then becomes worth $29 million base salary. Like, he's probably gone. So if you could sell him now and just not have to worry about that, I think that can look like a big value win in a year. You could do that with a 26 first if you wanted to. I don't know what your league thinks of 26 firsts versus 27. It seems like you value 27s. I don't really think of it that way. Just I always want the pick coming sooner. So that's an option that I would look at for this team because you're contending this year. I'm not sure if you think you are. I think this team should contend. And we just got a bunch of like cruft. Like you guys have a deep bench. Tyreek Hill up tier is probably the biggest thing I see. And I would be offering that to, with this team, I would be offering it to everyone in the league. Hill plus, I would just pull up, like trade calculators aren't amazing tools, but they're pretty okay tools for saying Tyreek, what is Tyreek Hill and 1 first worth? What is Tyreek Hill and 2 firsts worth? What is Tyreek Hill and 3 firsts worth? And once you start getting past simple math on the trade calculator, just send it to the trade advice and I'll get back to you within 24 hours. But that's what I would be looking to do here. Like, you're ranked as 7, but here 89 versus 91, 92, 94, 94, 95. That's all contender. It's just one big blob of 7 teams there. Like Tyreek Hill would be low value because he's 37. I would just cash out that value and get a great receiver. Looking at the bottom teams to see if there's any options of teams that would be more willing to sell. I don't see any great players. I'm looking for like top receivers. Here, this guy, what does he think? Would he sell you Amon-Ra? Could you get Devontae Adams in that deal too? See what you could get for those guys. There's not really any big obvious holes that you have to fill at running back. Your quarterbacks are fine. If you can't move Tyreek Hill, the only other place I see to grab value from is like some sort of Lamar down tier, but Lamar is probably one of the guys I want to down tier from the least. So I would just look to move first. I could make this review longer for you, but it would just be repeating that. Next one up is Riley. Riley, let me set up a timestamp for you. We are at 8 minutes past the hour, and we're looking at Riley in the AAA league. I've been going for a while. 10-team Superflex, start 10, PPR. We do have some big value teams, but it's not massively, like 105 is not massively better than the 88 behind my head. You can't see it. Maybe I need to move my head in future recordings. But the bottom's team, OJ's Broncos, this league's wide open. So let's find your team because you can probably make the playoffs. You got Caleb Williams, Baker Mayfield, Justin Fields, Jalen Milroe. I like this room quite a bit. You got upside in Caleb Williams. You got upside in Justin Fields in this super flex. And then you got a rock solid producer with Baker Mayfield. He's just not like hard. QB 16 might be hard to move for good value. I don't know if I gave this a rating. This feels like a really good 3. You're probably going to get great production from these guys. Running backs, Bijan, Henderson, maybe Braylon Allen, maybe Trey Benson this year. We may want to add a veteran here, but this is probably a 4, just Bijan and Henderson. Wide receivers, Wilson, Hunter, Golden, Adams, Ridley. This feels all right. This feels like a really good 3. Tight ends, Hawkinson, that's one of my big boys. So probably a really good 3 as well. This feels pretty solidly like rounded team. Not amazing anywhere, but rock solid. You got all your future picks. I bet this team's contending. Like Devontae Adams and Calvin Ridley being low option producers for this team, that makes me feel good. 10 teams start 10, so we may want to do some up tiers. But if we're starting Caleb or Fields and Mayfield, double Fields, there's 1, 2 starters. Hawkinson at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it may end up being Adams and Ridley over Burden. Give Burden a little bit of time to develop. This feels okay. Like, I'm looking for vets. Like, you might lose Devontae Adams after this year. You might lose Ridley after this year. But I think Leggett should step up in a wide receiver 2 role. Like, there's not a ton of holes here. So what moves would I make? Because you're going for it this year. I don't see a big future hole to stop you from going for it next year. Can you move Justin Fields now? For you, he'd be starting 2 weeks. His value to someone else should be much higher. And I would shoot like pretty high on value for Fields. Here in startups, I think he's going in the 8th round. I might shoot like, could you get Zay Flowers, a 7th round guy for him, or Metcalf, or like maybe add a little bit on top and get up to, and what other position do you need? Probably just a wide receiver up tier. So if you found someone, I would find a guy in your league looking for a quarterback and up tier from, let's see how high you could get from Garrett Wilson. Like Wilson, sell the stack. Fields and Wilson and get a great receiver back. Can you get up to Puka? Can you get as high as BTJ? We're trying to up tier to the top stud options to be difference makers in a 10 by 10. I feel good about Hawkinson. We don't really need to make any moves here. Another thing I would consider for you is if Travion Henderson is already RB8 and someone thinks he's maybe even a little bit higher, could you just down tier to, Derrick Henry, Kamara, and bump up? Like, really, I'm probably just looking to bump up from Wilson. Or if someone's going to pay you really high value on Luther Burden, like Burden may be good with the Bears. A lot of 2nd round NFL draft picks just don't hit. A lot of 2nd round rookie picks don't really hit. And if we only need to start 9, I want to do a little bit of up tiering at your receivers. I want a better top option. So I'm just looking for ways to get that, like move Fields and a receiver to go up. Move Burden and a receiver to up tier to a better 9. So you'd be starting Adams and Ridley, possibly a Leggett, but you'd have a more high tier option. That's kind of what the first moves I would ask about. And you just ask everyone in your, like, go to each person and ask them, look at their receivers and see if you can figure out an up tier deal with them. Last one, vpcalv. vpcalv, 113. We'll call it 35 so you can watch me type all that out. Here we go. Roster review, 10 teams, start 9, PPR, super flex. When we look at the value column, top of the team, but it's pretty tight. It's still pretty tight. So anyone can do anything. Like, you've got some of this value is an extra 1st round pick. That doesn't help you this year unless you move it. What have we got? Quarterbacks, Jordan Love, Cam Ward, Bryce Young. I don't love the value distribution of these guys, but I don't know how much we can do about it. I like Cam Ward and Bryce Young more than QB 17 and QB 20. I'd like to up tier. I've talked about Cam Ward a couple times on this video. So jump through the other chapters and find when I've said about Cam Ward. I explained it a little bit more. I'm just expecting his value to go up in August. And for Bryce Young, I would track what's his keep trade cut value now, what's Cam Ward's value now, and how does it change throughout August? Like, do things look better as Tet McMillan balls out in camp? Do people think Bryce Young is a lot better? There's already stories about Cam Ward, getting to the stadium at 2 to practice and then leaving at 2 and never sleeping. So does his value start to shoot up? It has a little bit already in early August, but as redraft season starts, you'll see value risers move up quite a bit in August. So I would look at those guys, and that might be possible pivots. Like, you're already at the top, so you might not need to pivot. Let's look at the rest of your stuff. So I'll call this a 3 out of 5, or a strong 2, a weak 3. Like, you've got hopefully good producers in Love and Young, like decent enough in a 10-team super flex. It's not a league winner combo, but it's not a league loser at all. Running backs, 3 rookies. Genty, Judkins, Harvey. We might be missing some time from Judkins. We may be losing some weeks early on with Genty and Harvey getting rookie workloads, and not really anything to back that up. I worry about it more with Harvey. Like, I'm expecting Genty to play pretty early, but I wouldn't be surprised if Harvey wasn't a top, wasn't at his production ceiling until October. Receivers, Chase, London, Tet, Ibuka, Worthy, Leggett. This is a good 4. A good 4. And then tight ends, Kyle Pitts, who sucks. So this is a 2. So probably a contending team. What moves can we make? The things that are jumping out to me, like down tiering, like I like Ashton Genty, but maybe it's not the number one move I look at. I'm trying to come up with some other stuff. Like, let's count out your 10 starters and see where we feel weak and see who's left and what kind of moves we can make. Because right now, I kind of just like how you have this set up. Love, Young is 1, 2. Pitts is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So like Ibuka and Tet, like this team will just be a slow build. If I had to guess, I'd say you're coming out of a startup because you have so many rookies, and the team and the league isn't that like value skewed that someone could have gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rookies, maybe even more, 6 like first round rookie picks. I guess the thing I would say with this team is you got a lot of value rising options, and week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the year might feel bad. But there's not anyone that I'm looking to move or jump from. I guess the thing I would say is, like, can you afford this many luxuries? If it's gonna cost you this season, this year, or the playoffs, while you're waiting for Tet, Ibuka, Harvey, definitely waiting for Judkins, maybe waiting for Cam Ward to become great, like, you might lose a couple weeks early on. Jamar Chase and Drake London are good. I don't know that they'll fully carry you through the rookie development. You have an extra first. Can you move that extra first? Like, let's look at... What else does this guy have? I'm trying to see if you traded one of these firsts, could you get Adams and a good plus? And I don't know that I see a great plus, but for this team, I would look for solid producers. I mean, I guess if you have an extra first, go look for AJ Brown and move J1 has Lamb, Brown, Metcalf. You could send one of those extra firsts for Metcalf, and that would be like an even value trade. Oh, this is the same dude. Devontae Adams, Metcalf. I don't know. I mean, he probably sees his team as contending with these old producing veterans. So when we're looking at value, like your team is ahead of his, but he's got producers that are ready to go. He's got a good tight end. You have Kyle Pitts. He's got, Metcalf and Adam, who should be producing at low values, like wide receiver 41 value, wide receiver 26 value. I would not be surprised if those guys are out producing Ibuka, Tet early on in the season. So the short version of this is take a look about pivoting from Cam Ward. You definitely don't need 3 options. And if you could sell Cam Ward and turn that through a series of moves into 3 good veterans, that should get you into the playoffs, and then hopefully you have enough guys developed and going pretty far in the playoffs. Like, you have enough value. We just need to turn 1 or 2 of these rookies or a first into producing veterans. Like, send a third or a fourth and don't stick with Kyle Pitts. Can you get Travis Kelce? Can you get Mark Andrews? Like, this guy's McBride and Kelce. That's a great setup. Could you sell Pitts and just down tier to Kelce and get something else? Like, I'm looking for guys that are ready to produce to get you into the playoffs, and that's what you should be looking for. So here, I'll just read through this list for you. Evans, Adams, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, Derrick Henry, no longer Mixon, but Kamara, Aaron Jones. These should all be good, cheap, veteran options, and you should try to get a couple. And then even if they retire, you have 100 first-year rookies. That's the reason I would move a 26 pick, because you've already got everyone on your team is already 14 years old. I think we'll call it there. I mean, it's a well put together team. I just worry about October or September. And that's all I have to say about that one. Thank you very much for submitting it. For anyone else who had their team reviewed in this video, if you have any questions or comments, let me know in the YouTube comments.